Madam, you can unmute yourself and talk if you want to.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we
Hello,
can hear
everybody.
you. Hi, Mariam.
Yes, yes. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Finally. I worked for agriculture project funded by USAID in
Mm-hmm.
Georgia. So the main idea of the project was to support small and medium-sized agriculture entrepreneurs through technical assistance, financial assistance, environmental and gender, to improve their value chains and the product quality and export their products in European and American markets and also on Asian. But our project was aiming to increase their standards according to the European Union requirements because they have this food safety standards and so on and so on.
Hmm.
Since we're already not a part of the EU, but we signed an agreement. Now they require from us to qualify those standards. So at this point, we have a gap. So I was working for that. And by the way, in terms of drones, like that was many years ago, 5 years ago, nobody knew about drones in Georgia for agriculture entrepreneurship. And I submitted first project ever. I established a startup, so I created a drone project for agriculture entrepreneurship, and nobody even understood what was it.
Mm-hmm.
So it never got funding because of that.
Interesting.
But now, yeah, it's back into style. Like now, it became very popular. Like 2 years ago, I submitted like 5 years ago, and nobody could understand what I was demanding from them. So they just were nodding their heads, but they could not understand what I wanted. So I never received funding, but I really, really believe that after this course, I will again try to do
Try to
something
do
in
it.
that because
True.
now they know that it's a very
Yeah.
efficient. Like
And in
it's not a new
Georgia,
bicycle. Yeah.
in Georgia, do you have large farms? Do you have small farms? Or what is the average size of the farms there?
We were funding not farms. If you mean by farm the livestock, we did not find the livestock
No, I
because
mean the field.
USAID project,
The field
the
size. The
field,
field size, yeah.
yeah, they were big ones, but we were usually we were funding the factories who were collecting the products from different farmers, and they were doing post harvesting and the post harvest handling.
Right.
Yes, and in Georgia, the problem is that we have a few agricultural lands.
Got it.
And the few farmers, yes, they are very small. We had really bad registration system in Georgia, and lands were distributed to people, and people were not using it properly. So agricultural lands belong to people who are not using it. That's a big problem. So,
That's a big
yeah,
problem.
but yeah, so agriculture is like I don't know, developing, but very slowly.
Very
We
slow.
still depend on imported products. It's very bad for the
True.
mid-income people because it's not affordable sometimes to buy foreign products. So yes, but
Great.
still,
That's nice to know.
yeah.
Thanks, Mariam. So from
Oh,
today
thank you.
we are going to talk about agriculture. And when I mean what I mean by agriculture is entire food system, right from planting the land to
Yes,
sowing to reaping to post harvest and then even distribution.
yes,
So is there anything which technology can do in that? And our discussion over the next one entire week or maybe less than that would be focused on these topics. And we would be having speakers from across the world again who have
yes,
used technology, advanced technologies to do this. And talking about our part of the world, India. India has large farms, but not as many. We have generally tiny farms. We have about 1.5 acres of land. And the
yes,
other problem we have in India is that the farmer is aging. So we don't have the youngsters to take over the farming business from their parents.
yes,
Everybody is so fascinated by high paying jobs or high profile jobs in the cities that they don't want to come back to the villages and start working.
exactly here.
Yeah, so
Same
these are the
here.
problems that we are facing here. So we'll be discussing that. And secondly, another thing which I have noticed in my travels is that the villagers or the farmers are not empowered. The empowerment happens at a very different level. They don't really have the access to technology that we're talking about. So it's not that they cannot fly drones, they can, but nobody is going to teach them how to do it. And nobody is going to provide them that service. So it's always, we come in as superheroes again and try to do
Yeah,
something for them rather than
I
they taking
understand.
over their own problems and solving their own challenges. So these have been what my observations are. So for me, the reason to get into drones for agriculture at a personal level is because there is a lot we can do with this layer of farmers and their children that we have, and that's where we began. The first project that we did in India was for a tribal village, which I'll share with you in the first lecture as well itself. And we
Yes.
wanted to see if they can interact with the technology, how fascinated they are with this technology, and if they're fascinated, would they be willing to learn it? And if yes, they're willing to learn it, why not bring it to them? And now in India, we will be having a lot of projects which will be happening in the villages, for example, marking the farm boundaries. So there again, there is an opportunity for a lot of people from the village, the young boys and girls, to start learning about drones and about these technologies and be of
It's
some
amazing.
service. Yes, so this is
Yes.
what it is. Today, amongst us, we have a very important speaker. His name is Prem Vishlawat, Prem Kumar Vishlawat, and he runs a startup called Marut Drones. Now, Marut Drones has been receiving a lot of attention and awards from a lot of different platforms, and they have been doing amazing job. And I'm personally a huge fan of whatever this team does. It's a very small team, a very young team, but they have been doing fascinating work across the country. And so today he'll be sharing about his work in agriculture, his story, and he also comes from farmers background, so he is more connected to the land and the challenges that these land face. And today we want to hear from him what exactly they do, how they do, what are the challenges, what did they learn, what should be done, what should not be done. So Prem, over to you.
Yeah.
I would request you to unmute yourself, put on your video, and this class is yours.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, Mariam.
And thank
Uh,
you. And yes.
Mariam, you want
Thank
to
you.
add something?
Yeah.
Yes, the last thing that I wanted to say, that the thing that I like very much about the technology thing, in Georgia we had this situation that it's very unfashionable for youngsters to work in villages and on land. I don't know
Yes,
why. And this technology thing is very attractive to
very
youngsters.
attractive.
They
Absolutely. It's
yes,
stylish
this
and
is like
sexy.
the village is abandoned by young people. So
Yes,
it is like very, yeah, so it's very sad. Yes, that's the thing that
true.
I find very common in every country nowadays.
Thanks,
So,
Mariam.
Thank you.
So we'll give it to
uh,
Prem now. Prem, it's all yours.
uh,
Yes, thank you.
uh,
Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Ruchi. Thank you, Mariam. And thank you, everyone, for joining in the evening at 7 o'clock. We want to listen what drones can do for the agriculture space and everything. I'll start present my screen and everything so that like you're able to see my presentation.
Yes, Prem.
Okay, so I'll just take a one instant why we focus on agriculture is my dad works as a police constable and he works for 8 hours and whenever he gets a time. So the shift is one day if it is a 8 to 5, next day it will be 2 to 8, next day it will be from night 8 to morning 6. So whenever he gets a time in there, he goes back to the village and he does the farming. So then I've seen that the enough challenges handling the people, and like at stage where we had 10 acres of a mango farm, and because of people dependent, people have think we have lost entire farm. We have grown for 3 years, and after that we don't have a single plant as on today. So that's the huge challenge where we, as a family, we faced, and we understood like then we started thinking like, how do we introduce that separate technologies which can helpful like people like my dad and people who have been doing traditional farming, people who have been tech enthusiasts who come into the space to do to help the existing farmers to make certain help the challenges what they're facing and also improve the because we've been agri dependent state and COVID has made us realize how important is agriculture among all the sectors what we have. So this is a short. I want to take you through what we do and everything. So, whole as a company, we started. How do we introduce the emerging technologies like the drone, IoT, and AI, all to the pertinent problem which you are facing around us? So the focus sector which we're talking today is on the agriculture space. So majorly our vision and our mission where states like we as a vision, we wanted to bring the technologies and help the sustainable and long lasting for the societal development and increase the more of using the emerging technologies and create their effective and sustainable solutions. So I myself, I did my bachelor's from IIT Guwahati, and we have a mix of IIT alumni and the more of the people who have worked as scientists, who have worked as engineers have came together. I'll take you the key problems what we wanted to be before us when we started observing the agricultural space. How do we bring the emerging technology like a drone? So these are the 6 main problems which we saw as pretending in the agriculture space. So where a farmer, like few of areas, because of the rapid increase of this Ola, Uber, and all this urbanization and everything, a lot of farmers have migrated to urban cities. There's a lack of labor shortage in the villages, mandals, and the tier 2, tier 3 places, or exactly the farming community lacks a lot of labor shortage. So whenever they get a pest attack, they feel like it has to work in 24 hours or 72 hours. They have to do certain pesticide, chemicals, or larvicide, or herbicide. Because of shortage of labor, they've been damaging their crops, and they've literally the huge crop loss. Then biggest problem is the cost of the labor, because if it is as a 20 acres, 30 acres, or 50 acres, he has to manage set of labors for multiple days. The cost of the labor is also becoming expensive. Few regions where the lack of labor and the available of labor, existing labors cost them a bomb. And one aspect of this, second is the people who are working in the farm, because of having direct access to the pesticide, they're getting sick. They've been like, I'll take you through a small case study, what in particular India and few of the states and everything, where direct contact, because they eat with the same hand with the and they drink with the same hand which they carry pesticide and the spray and everything, that directly causing them the cancer and a few diseases like which majority of farmers in the country have been facing it. And because of excess spraying and inefficient spraying, the huge spillage and making them loss, they're thinking they have been saving the soil and crop and everything, they're damaging themselves. Because of there is no diagnosis, how doctors, whenever we are sick, we go to doctor and we try to get a diagnosis right, where exactly the problem is, and we try to do a specific medication to it. Like that, we don't have a specific like diagnosis to the farm, and we don't have any early warning. So this is one incident. The 2 incidents I want to highlight is, one incident was in Maharashtra, Yavatmal, because of pesticide farmers spraying, sudden wind blowed, and the next farmers, nearly 1,700 people have got affected, few people have died, and few people have got injured. There's asthma issue and everything. The another small incident I want to say is in Punjab. The train goes from Punjab to Rajasthan every day. It's called as a cancer train, and majority of the farmers in Punjab, they go for cancer treatment, and 60% of farming population in Punjab are affected with this cancer, and they go to Biknerwala for the treatment. So this is a hard fact where the farmer who is helping us every day to taking the pains to grow and giving us a good food and food which has been there, and he's suffering with all the cancer now. So we started understanding, how do we introduce the emerging technology like this? And 3 things which we thought is like, how do I address the shortage of labor, inefficient spray, and give him a specific where exactly the spray has to be happen based on the diagnosis aspect. The whole motive is to decrease his input cost on the pesticide, increase his yield, and increase his income. That's the thought behind what we're trying to do and everything. So what we brought a 2 different kind of solutions. One is an intelligence where we try to scan a crop, we try to give them where is stress, non-stress, nitrogen level, water level, and everything, and give them the important data and where exactly pest is attacked. And we have built another drone where there's agri automation, there's a spray, like it can be spray, it can be seeding, it can be more fertilizers do it. To reduce the manual labor and increase the efficiency and reduce the cost which the farmer is facing, and reduce the spillage and not having them directly contact with the pesticide and everything. So as the thing, what we're trying to do is we built a whole the system where to diagnosis and recognize the stress levels in the crop and identify the diseases in the crop. And we also use a human agronomist at present, because we just don't depend on the data of the thing. We also use a agronomist to give advice to farmer, and based on that, we do a precise and targeted spraying where is the pesticide attack and where is it stressed and everything. So with that, we reduce a drastic amount of the pesticide which is being sprayed in the farm and the soil. And so majorly we have reduced the input cost which a farmer is there. And with that, timely and efficient interventions have been there. And these are a few of the use cases where we reduced disease risk. And the overall, what we did is we've created a dashboard. So this is a process what we're following at present, where we do a diagnosis, we get a certain data, whether the crop is stressed or not. When we introduce, we send an agronomist to the same field, and we do the more of a spraying autonomously, which without intervention and everything. So, and this is a process where we do the diagnosis. What sort of data we gave it? We gave areas where exactly this has been the pest is attacked, where it's been decreased, where the nitrogen level is less, and we give them more of the plant count. We give them more of how much the canopy is there and everything detailed. So overall, we did three things. So direct farmers, we started reducing the input cost, what they've been facing it, and they've been pest attack, but we reduced the lower pest attack. We were able to give them a more knowledge through the advisory or to the more of the diagnosis. And we whole focus was to increase his income, because end of the day, his ROI is how much I have made money than what I made earlier. And as an environment, we've used a less pesticide usage. So we've reduced the soil and water pollution of the farm, which they earlier they used to spray entire crop unknowingly. As a society, we want a good quality food, and health-wise, we want to save the farmers, save the people, labor, and create a whole employment has been created in the rural areas and everything. So we've been working with the companies, seed companies, institutions, and the governments. So majorly we focused 2 states last like 1.5 to 2 years is Andhra and Telangana. And majorly we've started doing the diagnosis and everything. We have on kind of the expertise from in other UAVs, where we build the vehicles of the drones custom to this, so that has helped us to reduce the cost on the hardware aspect and taking to the market aspect. So there's a few where people have done, and the whole technology, the drones and AI which are built and everything last year has been recognized by NASSCOM as emerging startup. And the 2 set of people whom we are working, one is we are working with the seed and pesticide companies, where 50% is cost has been paid by seed and pesticide companies and the all agri input companies. Only 50% is paid by the farmer. Another set we are working is with the FPOs. FPO is farmer producer organization, where group of farmers, like example, since in India we have 1 acre, 2 acres, 5 acres as a majority farmers. So what they become is they become a group of farmers and become a 500 acres or 1,000 acres, and they negotiate for pesticides and everything. So we started tying up with the FPOs. So we have more than 600 to 700 FPOs with us. So each FPO has a 400 to 1,000 acres and this thing. So we are trying working with them. So where it's easy for us to get a larger chunk of area when we're trying to work with the FPOs. And what we did is interestingly, what we wanted to do is, so in a crop, they have 3 sprays and 4 sprays and 5 sprays. Rather than going for individually, we started creating as a packages for diagnosis and spray as a package and everything. And so since we do autonomous and everything, or the whole the autonomous plan and everything is fixed. So next time when we do, it's easy for us to serve them and everything. And we also know detail where exactly there. These are the 3 ways which we reached out to them. The channels are the expose. We go every area. We educate the farmer community first. What is helpful, what is usage and everything. Then through word of mouth and referrals, we try to bring them on board and we try to serve them. Or we go more of we try to give them a localized linguistic content for them. What is the usage, what is helpful, and how it can help with the traditional methods and everything. So the aim is to make the world the farmer who is in center point, to make him as a better place for our farming community. So this is what, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is Ruchi and everyone. So as a presentation wise, I've done with my presentation. I'm open to take the questions and everybody. So last 1 year, we handled around 5,800 acres in both the states, and we were able to helpful the farming community in that aspects. And this year, we're trying to target at least to reach 25,000 to 30,000 is there. So one of the key challenge, since it's everything is looks like glorious and everything, one of the key challenge what the adoption of drones in agriculture is because a lot of people misguided the farming community. People who have sold drones for farmers who are unable to use it, and they are unable to give a maintenance. There are enough reports. We feel is it should be a drone as a service, not we should deploy a drone to a farmer. Because it should be like every region, like tier 2, tier 3 places, how these KVK centers, they give tractors, they give all farm machineries, how it is. It should be like drones has to be equipped with service, and an engineer and a pilot who is educated in that region, in that village, is capable of serving the farmer community. I'll do you a few anecdotes when we're working with, because first, every time when I'm most happy when I eat food of the farmer who bring its small pickle and small like dal and everything. And when I have started talking to them and everything, what I understood was a couple of people have said, like there's in lot of technology we have here. People have learned, might be a farmer's son, they've learned certain technology, they've gone to US, UK and everything. This is the only emerging technology like drones who's coming to the farmer, trying to help him, what are the challenges what he has, and try to mitigate his health hazards, to all his losses, to crop losses, to all stuff, and trying to go down and work with the farmer community and helpful. So that's what I could is a big thing, which as a farmer where last 70 years we could not do as an agriculture country, these drones are doing that, I feel, at present. So what in the parallel, what we're trying to also do is what we realized is to wide adoption of the drones. There's a couple of challenges what we saw as in drone usage, because I'll just present you that as what we're doing is we have collaborated with the state government here, and we collaborated with agricultural universities. What we're trying to do is, since the drones spraying is not allowed in India as a payload and everything, the biggest problem is all the pesticide companies has to give us ULV formulations. And there is no scientific evidence at present. So we're trying to work as a research project with the state government and the agriculture university for next 2 years. This year, from July to November, we're doing we have taken 4 crops like groundnut, paddy, cotton, soybean, and the groundnut and red gram. And we're trying to come up with a proper guidelines, SOPs. How do they use what for crop wise, what sort of a chemical as to what's the formulation, what height, and what time of the day they have to spray, and all SOPs we're trying to work, so that like it's largely we want to make sure this is available for the farming community and for the drone community, so that they work and the usage of drones is widely adopted by the many engineers and many tech enthusiasts, and help the farmers.
Thanks, Prem. This was an amazing presentation, and you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for that. And one thing that I'm really curious about is, how is the government looking at it? Are they very happy about what we are doing for the farmers, or what is their perception about the whole thing?
So as I work in southern states, so southern states have been incentivizing farmers like 8,000 to 10,000 rupees per annum. So what we're trying to bring them is, we want to bring the small component, at least 1,500 to 1,000 rupees as a component for them to using emerging technologies, not just a drone. So that's where we're trying to make them adopt, because as a state government is very proactive in their pushing it, because they also know there is a lack of labor. They also know a lot of health issues has been happening in the state and everything. So they're very keen. That's why we're working with a research for next 1 year that will help them also proactively promote. The whole the thought process with that research is, every week they wanted to go to each village and promote how emerging technology like drone is helpful for them, with the SOPs which has been already defined by this agriculture university.
Great. And how excited are the farmers about it? Are they like, do they see this as a threat? Do they see this as a welcome change, or?
It's a welcoming for them because I've seen the few of the crops, like example, sugarcane, the height is more than 6 feet. The farmer himself cannot go. Paddy, there have been snakes in it. A lot of people have injured, people have casualties because of snake bites. So there have been a lot. That's why I'm saying like, for last 1.5 years, it was very proactiveness from the farmer side. They themselves call us, they themselves educate us. This is the crop cycle. This is what. So the biggest challenge is when to use, how to use, how much to use, and everything is what we want to define.
Right. Great. So we have some questions. Saksham, Amit, who would be coordinating the questions today? You can take it over.
Definitely.
Yes, ma'am. Amit here. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi, Amit.
So the first question comes from Rabin Oja. You talked earlier about pest incident warning. Please elaborate more on this.
Okay, so presently what's happening is, like I said, for diagnosis for spraying, there is no diagnosis, like SOPs for the diagnosis also. Like we are writing a specific algorithm to crop centric, and we are using the multispectral, hyperspectral sensors, and we're trying to, based on the data, we're trying to use the agronomists and we try to help them specifically with pest, and we're trying to help them to use the right mixture of the chemicals what is needed for the pest. So it's majorly we're doing a lot of offline and helping them and handling them with the pest incident warning what's happening.
Okay, so there is another question commonly between Bhagwati Prasad and Amit Kumar Naik, that what would be the basic cost of spraying as a customer of Maru drones?
Yeah, so what we did is we don't want like sitting in Hyderabad, we don't want to serve to the villages or Warangal, Karimnagar. We wanted to deploy our own drones as a pit stops in different the districts, and they go and serve. In with that, around 500 to 700 rupees is what I could do is per acre they could charge. So we also want to match with the existing labor cost what they've been handling it. And what we saw is multiple days of farms. One of the basic thing I'll tell you is in the rice, they do pollination. So what they do is they bring laborers they take a stick and they shake the plant morning and evening. What happens with that? The tree like little bit moves and the pollination happens. What happened is because of labor is not available, they went to construction labor. Construction labor come, they disappear. They feel it's a very intensive, the hands, pains and everything. Simple, with the drone flying at 1 meter, 2 meter high, the whole entire plant shakes, pollination happens fastly. So I'm saying like there's a lot of things where agri-automation, agri-intelligence as an aspect, which we see look into it. We want it to be more economical, where farmer can easily afford it. And going forward, we also help asking the state governments bring into the more of insurances, bring into the more of their farm machinery and how they give a loan and everything. But as on today, only the people who are tech savvy, people who understand technology could help them. They're serving them.
Okay, so another question from Anil. Can you explain regarding early pest detection and crop health analysis?
So this is centric to the crop to crop. So majorly what we did is we identified when if it is 150 days or 120 days of crop, at 15th day what sort of a pest comes, at 20th day, 45th day, what sort of pest comes. And the biggest challenge today's day is without knowingly what is the pest, people have been just spraying. Because someone is in their village have said, I got this kind of a thing, I've sprayed this, I got a good yield. So what they're blindly doing by taking the assumptions of someone has got. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify exactly what is the pest, with the agronomist keeping ground truthing data and trying to do the targeted spraying specific to that pest what is there.
Okay, so another question from Mayak. Are there any possibilities to reduce stubble burning in Punjab, Haryana by drones?
Definitely. They have very much, they could do it. There needs a specific kind of a different kind of a drones. The present drones which you are showing for the paddy or everything is different for them. We have to do customize a little bit more every. They're very much possible.
Okay, so Anil Kumar is asking, we always hear most farmers are not able to repay loans. How does your business model help them?
So definitely, because they spend a lot of money on the pesticides. They spend a lot of money on the labor and farm machinery. where we're trying to reduce the cost on the pest side and labor and try to increase the speed up their whenever the pest is attacked focusly, because earlier if they're sprayed some in 100 acres, they might have sprayed around 80 acres, 90 acres. Now, because of the diagnosis and everything, they might spray on 30 acres or 40 acres. So drastic amount of pesticide is reduced, and drastic amount of the time is reduced and everything. Definitely becomes more affordable. As on today, there is no scientific backing to it, but we're trying to work on it, and we try definitely within a year we'll come up with a detailed white papers and SOPs.
And even I'm adding on to this point that there are heaps in plots of lands where people do farming. There are many heaps by which they divide the plots. So these areas are also included during spraying. So mostly they have losses for that. But doing with drones, these areas are left out so that a less amount of the pesticide is used.
Yes.
Okay. So. Okay, Amit Kumar is asking, how do you deal drone technology spraying during rainy seasons and monsoons?
So at present, that's a disadvantage of at present, because we're trying to see where before we do any of our for diagnosis spraying, we try to check the wind speed, weather, and everything. Then we do it. So at present, we have whenever it's rainy and everything, we're not using it. That's one small disadvantage I feel.
Okay. Anissa has a question. How do you tackle the DGCA guidelines of restricting drones for pesticide spraying?
No, that already one of the companies has already got for the medium range for spraying drone as a NPNT, and they have UAN. So we also filed 6 months back the NPNT and everything. We're looking forward for them. They're taking a little time, but we're very sure already that spraying drones have got NPNT. That's not that challenge as in the country.
Julie is asking, is spraying drone technology effective on all type of crops, or does it vary from crop to crop?
So generally, the biggest problem is in today's day, a lot of people have brought a drone and they've left and right, they're doing whatever they want. That's why we brought this in the discussion also. Why I brought that SOP is because see, crop to crop, the height has to be changed. Example, if it is a red gram kind of a crop, if you keep 3 meters or 3 feet or 4 feet, 3 meters kind of a stuff, entire red gram will be damaged. So according to the crop, the nozzles has to be changed. The more of the height has to be changed, and also speed has to be changed, and a lot of parameters come into the picture. So definitely it has to be crop to crop. The operations has to change. From outside, it looks like drone is spraying, but it's not. There's a lot of, because it's very delicate. Because if there's a huge chances if you're not following that, the damage happens. End up because the farmer going to lose his crop.
Okay, so there is a question from Dilip sir. Hello, Prem. Great presentation. I have a request. We all agree that we need to do more on the regulatory aspects required for scaling up the drone use cases. Can you tell me 3 major shortcomings you wish to set right as far as drone regulations in India are concerned?
The first one is the payload drones should be allowed, because if you see one of the aspects I'll tell you is spraying is a popular, but there's a granular, because fertilizer has to be sprayed, seeding has to happen, which can very much happen with the drone. So the payload drones, especially for agriculture purpose, are most needed. Second is see, all our the farms are away from the main roads. Whenever we also do operations, they're far from the road. So we literally carry from a road to 2-3 kilometers inside and we serve. So for that, the delivery drones are the most needed. What I feel from point A to point B. Today's day, because of lack of labor, the carrying itself is a challenge, and a huge challenges are there. Third is at present the agriculture space, like DGCI did for the locusts, DGCI did for the COVID. They have to come up with a specific little leverage on the agriculture space, because in agriculture there's not much people are around, or not much houses. The agriculture is a little bit away from the residential areas and everything. So there is a little leverage can happen, or little flexibility can happen for agriculture purpose on the diagnosis aspect, or spraying, or any of the other use case in the drones aspect, I feel.
Okay, so there's a question from Mariam. Are agri insurance and banks using your services?
Not yet, because we did two projects with the state government itself for the crop loss. One is in AP when one of the cyclone happened, which is called Titli and Hudhud, where we did a lot of data. We helped the state government for the crop loss estimation and everything. But they took this as a base and everything. But again, they did a traditional method of doing it, and they used it, compared it, and everything. Since the lot of banks still feel that drones have been not legalized, so, and insurance companies are also, the legal teams doesn't allow this is as a valid kind of the inputs and which can be is there. I think now it's changed because COVID has made a lot of companies, a lot of governments, a lot of things that drones are really useful, that they can make changes, wonders in the present scenario. And so going forward in next 6 months to 1 year, already insurance companies are giving third-party insurance. They also will definitely consider the crop estimation, crop losses, and everything through the drone data and everything.
Okay.
As of today, there are no bankers or no insurance companies are using the drone data and doing it.
Okay, so Anil Kumar is asking, can you explain about the payload capacity and any special containers for different insecticides and pesticides?
So we have been using it 10 liters, 16 liters, and 20 liters drones. Definitely the payload is around more than 20, like it's a small and medium range of a drones level, which we deal with it. Based on the need, example, if I'm doing seeding, I need more number of seeds to carry. So it needs the better payload and everything. And diagnosis doesn't need not much payload, like 2 kgs, 3 kgs is enough for the diagnosis. When we keep sensors and cameras, like multispectral, hyperspectral, and everything. So there's this flexible to the payloads, I feel, for the agriculture space is most needed.
Okay, so Dilip sir is asking, what would be the most suitable operating height above ground for the drone spraying pesticides?
So, Dilip sir, definitely it's not fixed yet because, example, sugarcane, already the crop itself is more than 5 feet 6 feet. So we have to go a little high. Coconut, already tall. Like vegetables are very, they're brown, creepers, so they need height little more. So that's the biggest problem in this is ICAR or any other agricultural universities. They've been late because different countries are already defined and the pesticide companies or all people have given ULE formulations and everything. So that's the whole attempt. What we're trying to do is we have chosen 5 crops at present, which is widely in southern state are there. We're trying to come up with a whole the guidelines and SOP and create a small Bible kind of for the people like farmers or for people like drone. And then we wanted to add next crops and everything. So as of today, we take 2 to 3 feet height more than the crop area which is there, because there are like 2 set of things: the systematic and the contact kind of a crop, the chemicals. Based on the chemicals, based on them also we generally vary, because few needs just a droplet, few needs extensive on the leaf. The chemical has to form.
Okay, so there's a question from Anil Kumar. From Amit Kumar, can drone be used in hill areas such as tea plantations and all?
Definitely, we are now from this July onwards we'll be operational in Assam. So where I did my bachelor's, I am IIT Guwahati alumni. So where we wanted to do the tea farm and we're trying to help them. For them, it's very much useful in aspects. So that's why we this year we're trying to work from the Assam.
Okay. So there's a question from David. Apart from application of this drone technology in agriculture, do you have any other activity where the technology is used? If there, then what are they?
Definitely. So one of the flagship our product is the mosquito eradication and disease prediction for dengue and malaria. So we use drone to identify a breeding site. Then we also map to it. We get an individual location wise. We trap mosquitoes and say whether give dengue, malaria, and everything. We do eradication, it's like anti-larva activities to the drone, spraying drones and everything. So it's a widely adopted and everything. And a few other like technology which is in medical delivery, which is then for surveillance, and this is wide. Now you just need to Google it. You'll find any number of use cases which are there with a drone as a technology.
Okay, so there's a question from Mayank. Are drones also being used to improve precision irrigation?
Definitely, yes, they are because volumetric estimation to there more of the surveillance and everything, definitely they're there. For sure.
Okay, so there are no more questions.
I'm happy. Actually, I can keep my email ID and everything. I'll keep the presentation and I'll keep my email ID. So I'm happy anytime if you have anybody, if I'm really helpful and everything. I'll show my email ID and everything. Okay. So.
Sir, could you please drop it in the chat box?
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yes, sure. So I'm happy to answer and help anybody who's working it. Sure, I'll drop it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir, for that.
So thank you very much, team, for this amazing, generous presentation that you shared with us. Just hold on. And I thank you on behalf of my class and this community that we have. We have almost 80 students from around the world right now, and about 40 of them were listening to you live. Others would probably watch your recording. So this was amazing, and this is, I think, extremely motivational for all of us, because we all are thinking about doing something about the food chain and trying to use technology to help the real farmers. And especially in India, if we are able to do something about this and we're able to help the marginal farmers, that they don't go and do suicides, there is nothing better than that. So this is an amazing service that you're doing to the nation, Prem. Thank you so much. And I think we have covered most of the questions. Yes. And with this, I would say thank you, everybody. We'll continue the discussion offline in your assignments as well as the reference materials. And we will be connecting with you again tomorrow at the same time with a new presentation. Thank you.
So, thank you, Dr. Ruchi, and definitely I wanted to help like my people like my father and everybody who are majority in the country. So definitely, if it is helpful for the community, which is as a farming community, will be definitely grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.